Welcome into the playbook, you guys. We have episode 3 here today. You know us by this point. I'm Colin Schofield, one of the co-sports editors.
I'm Sienna Conaghan, the other co-sports editor.
And I'm Jacob Moreno, the assistant sports editor.
And we're back for, like I just said, episode 3 of the playbook. You know, guys, how are we feeling today? How's our days going so far?
You know, not bad. I went to class, went home, immediately took a nap, and have not done anything since. So,
mine's been good. I've just been craving some boneless wings randomly, and I'm just excited for Temple football to come off the bye week and play UTSA today, like we'll talk about.
Yeah, we will absolutely get in Temple football today. We have a lot to talk about with football coming off a bye week, the non-revs in full swing. But I want to start by opening up a little bit something different. We're going to talk about a story that I did that just went out as we're recording this on Tuesday, September 30th, went out this morning about Ed Wade, who some of you may know, some may not. He was a former general manager for the Philadelphia Phillies from 1998 to 2005. He worked as a baseball executive for 42 years, but he started at Temple as a journalism major. So he was kind of in our shoes in the 1970s and, got his way into the business with the Phillies and, kind of changed his career course and went into as an executive. And I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to sit down and talk to him about, his career. He's most well known here. He was inducted into the Wall of Fame this past August. In the Phillies Wall of Fame, he helped build the 2008 World Series team by drafting players like Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, Cole Hamels, promoting Jimmy Rollins to the big leagues. He was let go in 2005, but the great Pat Gillick said it was still Ed Wade's team when they won. And, he was honored for that this summer in the Wall of Fame. So I got the opportunity to talk to him. And we're going to play a little clip for you guys here, kind of about how he got to Temple, some persistence that got him to where he needed to be in his career. And, it's a pretty cool clip. So enjoy.
The working in the press box for the playoffs, which led to everything else. So persistence was a key to some of this happening, and just pure happenstance.
I was about to say, it sounds like in a lot of these stories you are telling is about persistence, and you're either sending letters or following up with people or figuring out any way you can kind of get your foot in the door. Where does that mindset come from, and how critical is that mindset in eventually leading you throughout the steps in your career?
I think a lot of it was naivete on my part. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
So why not?
All right, some really good stuff with Ed Wade here today, and it's that story available on TTM Plus. It's a really good, a little bit biased maybe, but I think it's a pretty good story. So if you want to kind of read more about Ed Wade and his time at Temple, what he meant to the Phillies, what baseball meant to him, go give it a read on TTM Plus. But going into Temple sports, current Temple sports, we'll start with the football team, which since we last talked to you guys, they only played one game because of a bye week. They lost 45-24 to Georgia Tech 2 weeks ago, but that final score is not exactly indicative on how that game went down. They essentially put themselves in a 21-point hole in the first 3 drives. I mean, the first 3 drives, it looked like they were going to lose 100-0. They couldn't stop anything. The offense was stagnant. Georgia Tech, Haynes King was dotting them up all over the field. It wasn't a good look. But kind of the end of that first quarter and then the entire second quarter and start of the third quarter, they really, really picked things up. And, they got down to 21-14 in the third quarter and then just kind of ran out of gas. The run defense got gashed in the third quarter for 119 rushing yards, and Georgia Tech kind of put the game out of reach. There's a couple garbage time scores from both teams to make the final score even bigger. But overall, that was the 20th ranked team in the country. Now I think 13th or 14th ranked team in the country. So one of the best teams in the country that Temple didn't look bad against. Guys, kind of give me your thoughts from that game. Throw it back to a couple weeks ago.
I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but the first half or the first quarter, it did not look good at all. Kind of the same struggle they've had a couple games this season. They haven't been able to get out of the gate quick, made a couple of early mistakes, and just went down early. They kind of figured it out, got back, but I mean, by the end of it, they were just trying to play catch up for so long that it just kind of was the end of the game at that point.
I mean, I just think that it's to be expected at this point. Like, we expected them to beat UMass, we expected them to beat Howard, and then we expected them to lose to these two teams who are obviously some of the country's best. So it just kind of comes down to that. But I think the one positive thing is Temple put up 24 points a few weeks ago against Oklahoma. They were held to just a field goal. So I think there is progression there. Obviously, the run defense is kind of a point of emphasis, and it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. But a lot to like from the offense. Evan Simon did struggle a little bit, but I thought there was some improvements with the implementation of kind of rushing and receiving.
I agree. The offense, again, you said the offense looked really good. Jay Ducker played well. Evan Simon had a career high in rushing yards, and that was Tyler Walker's thing when he came in. He wanted the offense to run the ball a lot, and they really showed that against Georgia Tech, against a defense that's an ACC defense. That's a ranked defense right there. So you'll take that in that circumstance there from the offensive standpoint. And now we move in, and now they had their bye week, and a couple updates coming out of the bye week. Two pretty significant players are no longer with the team. Running back Terez Worthy, who was their leading rusher last year and had 71 yards this year, had 2 touchdowns. He's no longer with the program, as is Xavier Irvin, who is their third leading wide receiver at the moment. A lot of those kind of came in garbage time against Oklahoma or Howard, but still kind of a notable loss in the wide receiver room coming out of the bye week, along with some injuries. Caton Supernauts, Lewis Fry, and Javier Morton are all banged up, especially heading in the UTSA game. None of those 3 might play against a UTSA team that can really run the football. Robert Henry Jr. is one of the best running backs in the country at the moment. Casey Keeler tried to recruit him to Sam Houston State when he was there, but was unsuccessful. And currently, even with a bye week under UTSA's belt, Robert Henry is second in the country in rushing yards. Doesn't bode well for a team that has struggled to contain the run. Granted, Temple's coming out of a bye week as well, had a couple weeks to implement some things. Maybe they called it their get better week, so maybe we'll see them kind of get better against that run. But guys, some defensive injuries, but some good things from the offense. UTSA's defense is not good. They're giving up, I think, 30 points per game right now. Guys, what are you kind of looking at going into this game on Saturday, their first conference game of the year?
It's a bit of a blessing in disguise just because, Colin, as you said, UTSA isn't the greatest defensive team, so it'll be not a get-right game for the offense, kind of like a recalibration of sorts, because obviously the running back room will now be tested. Besides Jay Ducker, you have Hunter Smith and Joka Smith. And then, with the passing game, you mentioned Irving left, so it'll be kind of more of a pathway for JoJo and others kind of step up in that role as well.
Yeah, for me, I think it's going to come down to a battle of the defenses. Both teams' defenses have struggled throughout their respective seasons, so I think, especially with Temple facing these injuries, they have to figure out a way to get past that and have the next guys step up and play strong defense. So I think, it might come down to whichever team's defense can stop the other.
And now you look at this UTSA game. Guys, what are some score predictions for Saturday? Again, this is a big game. This is a winnable conference game. This is a team that has bowl aspirations and is 2-2. This is an important game to open conference play, a winnable game. What are some predictions you guys have?
I'm going to go 27-21 Temple.
I like it.
I'm going to go 34-29 UTSA.
And I'm going 34-24 Temple. I think the rush defense is going to be better than it was the last couple weeks. I think the offense is going to play well. And then we're also going to have just another game before we talk to you guys again. They're going to have their homecoming game against Navy, a team that if UTSA is good at running the football, then I don't know if they're ready for Navy or not. And Casey Keeler said they're already starting to implement Navy stuff this week because it is such a unique offense to face. Big time rushing attack. They're kind of running the wing T now. We saw that last year, but still very focused on the rush. This is a team last year that beat Temple pretty handily in Annapolis. And now they come up to Philadelphia in the second conference game where it's going to be more facing a rushing attack. And guys, you have any predictions early for that game? I know we haven't really gotten that far into the season yet, but some early predictions for Navy at all? Kind of what has to happen to win or make that game competitive?
I think it's like you said, just the running defense. I think, the game against UTSA will kind of dictate my score prediction for that week. But I think right now I'd probably go Navy maybe 33 to Temple 24, something like that.
I don't have a score prediction right now because, like Jacob said, I agree with you. I think this weekend game is gonna really show how Temple's defense kind of holds up without some of these players, and against the run. So I think this weekend can either give them really good motivation heading into next week, or it can kind of waver their confidence a little bit.
Absolutely. So just to recap, Temple plays UTSA on October 4th, and then they play homecoming against Navy on October 11th, both of which may conflict with Phillies games. So we'll see how that goes. But moving into non-revs, again, plenty of non-rev action happening right now. We're going to jump into what still has been one of the better non-rev teams so far, which has been the field hockey team. Last time we talked to you guys, they were on a win streak and played a game that night. On September 16th, they beat Drexel 2-0. And then on September 19th, they beat Georgetown 2-1 before finally having their win streak snapped to Villanova, a team we had briefed last time about, a team that always gives them trouble. Villanova was 1-6, still beat them 2-0. And then they bounced back on September 28th with a 3-2 win against Richmond. So currently 8-2. The offense is still playing well. Defense has struggled a bit, struggled against Villanova, Michelle, as Coach Batiste had said. But Alex Lepore continues to get starts in goal and continues to play well, continues to play at a high level. Is there any takeaways you guys have had from the last couple weeks with the field hockey team?
I think someone that's stood out to me these past couple weeks has been Peyton Rieger. She's scored a goal in the past 5 games now. She's really just, like, heading into the season, the Owls lost a lot of vet players that led the team for a very long time. So this season, Peyton Rieger has really stepped into that leadership role and kind of also shown that based on scoring. So she's someone that's just really impressed me recently.
Someone who has stood out to me is Augustina Tuccieri, because in Temple's win over Richmond 3-2, she scored the goal in the 53rd minute to give Temple a 3-2 lead to secure that win. And in that game, she finished with 4 shots, and 2 of which were on goal, and obviously a single goal.
Yeah, and now coming up for this field hockey team, they have some big games. Really getting into Big East play now. They're 1-1 right now. Their next 2 games are going to be conference opponents. They're going to take on Quinnipiac on October 3rd, who's currently 5-4, but 0-2 in Big East play so far. And then the big one, rematch of the Big East Championship from last year that Temple lost in a heartbreaking 1-0 defeat against UConn at home on October 10th. UConn's only 3-5 at the moment. They started slow last year too. They're 1-1 in conference. Some of their losses include a loss to current number 9 St. Joe's, current number 18 Rutgers, current number 8 Harvard, number 9 Princeton, and number 5 Liberty. So their record may not be indicative of how good they are as an overall team because of the level of opponents they have played. This UConn team is always good in the Big East. They're always a challenge. And no doubt Temple remembers that loss to them last year in the championship, and that might be on their minds. And then they also will take on Lock Haven on October 12th as a non-conference game. So guys, big 3-game stretch coming up, 2 really big conference games. What are you looking for in these 3 games, and kind of what has to happen for this team to come out of here 3-0 or even 2-1?
Well, I think first for this upcoming game, they gotta stay focused on this one. They can't look ahead to UConn because I'm sure they want to based on last year. But I think they need to keep playing consistently. I think someone else needs to kind of find their groove in scoring roles. I mean, it's great that Peyton Rieger is scoring this consistently, and hopefully she can continue, but I'm sure especially heading into conference, other teams are going to know that and kind of try to lock her down more. So I think someone else needs to step up, and they just need to, for this one, they need to focus on this one and not against UConn. And then for the UConn game, I think they got to just kind of settle and not settle, but just kind of relax within themselves and just stay focused and not only think about last year.
I think it kind of comes back down to defense, because in that 5-game win streak earlier in the season, they held their opponents to a combined 3 goals, and you look at that game against Richmond where they let up 2 goals, and Villanova obviously got shut out, and the Wildcats put up 2 goals prior. So them just kind of re-tapping into that defensive intensity could be key in this upcoming stretch.
Yeah, everything's going to be key coming up for field hockey. And all Big East games are important. They're 1-1. You only play 7. So every game matters at this point for this field hockey team. But now let's move over to another non-rev. Again, that's really playing well right now. Sienna, in your wheelhouse here, we have the volleyball team. Since we last talked to you guys, they swept their last non-conference tournament, only losing 1 set. Beat Presbyterian 3-0, Quinnipiac 3-1, Dartmouth 3-0. And then played 2 really hard-fought matches after that. Went to UPenn and pulled out a 5-set win, 3-2. Then went down to Rice, who was the conference favorites. Pulled out a 3-2 5-set win there to really give them some momentum before getting swept by Tulane on September 28th. So some really good things happening from this volleyball team despite the loss. Sienna, I'm just going to throw you the lob over here and let you take over.
Yeah, I'm a little upset that you didn't use a volleyball pun there, but slide. Which was a volleyball pun that went over your guys' heads.
Slide is a volleyball pun?
Yeah, I'll explain later. Something just right off the bat, something that I'm impressed on. These 2 5-set wins, they weren't like coming back from a deficit. They weren't reverse sweeps. But they could have put both of the matches away in the 4th set. And I'm very impressed at how both matches they were able to stay strong in that 5th set and close out the game. Because the last 2 years that I've covered this team, that's sometimes been a struggling point with them, especially with doing it on the road both times. I was really impressed with that. With the Rice game, it was Temple Volleyball's first conference opening win since 2018. So I think that really motivated them for this season. And based on the entire team's social media, they were very, very excited at how low they were picked to finish the conference and taking down the projected number 1 finisher. But someone who has been really stepping up for the team overall has been Olivia Hummel. She's 3rd on the team in kills, 1st in aces, 3rd in digs, 5th in blocks. She's really kind of stepped up this year and just been crucial everywhere on the court. And then another one is Leah Harper. She came into the season, it was kind of unsure what she was going to contribute. She spent 4 seasons at Georgia Tech, but came out and she's already more than doubled the total kills she had in her all 4 seasons at Georgia Tech, just 16 matches into the season. So I'm really impressed with the team so far, and I think they just need to kind of figure out how to continue this going forward.
And I'll dispute none of what you just said because you're a trusted volleyball person over there. I feel like you hit about every nail you could have possibly hit there. And now moving forward for this volleyball team, they're going to have 4 games before we talk to you guys again. They host South Florida on October 3rd, host Florida Atlantic on October 5th, also host ECU on October 10th, and then are on the road at Charlotte on October 12th. So Sienna, since American Conference play has kind of been their downfall last couple of years, how do they keep things moving in the right direction these next 4 games?
I think it's going to be a mindset thing. They've already proved that they can take down American Conference opponents and other tough opponents. So I think it's going to kind of got to be a mindset thing of, yes, they're in conference play now and they've struggled in conference play the past couple of seasons, but they have to look past that and just continue to play the way they've been playing. Maybe it might relieve some stress on them if they kind of try to figure out how to finish sets off strong, not having to go to these 5th sets, but just really keeping their mindset right on not thinking a match is bigger than it actually is.
Yeah, and that'll be huge for them, coming into conference play here. They're pushing for that American Conference tournament, just missed it last year. And the last couple of years, again, it's been a struggle for them. So keeping that mindset up will be vital going forward. Now we move into the Sockers. both teams still kind of struggling, but we do have 2 wins to talk about here. We'll start with women's soccer, who have played 4 games since we last talked to you guys. On September 18th, they lost to Tulsa 3-1, then picked up a 6-0 win against a lower division team in Lincoln, Pennsylvania. So a nice little get-right game for them, find some footing in the offensive range. Lost to Rice, just 1-0. That was a ranked Rice team, only lost 1-0, so pretty impressive showing there. And then lost 3-2 to Florida Atlantic on September 28th. So only a 1-3 stretch there. But it feels like this team might be close to breaking through to get their first conference win in 30-plus games. What do they have to do to fully get through that door and take down another American Conference opponent?
I mean, you look at this stretch of games from Lincoln to FAU, it's a respectable stretch. Like, granted, Lincoln is a lower division opponent, but they put up 6 goals against them, which was, I mean, I covered the game. Like, after the game, there was kind of a sense of, like, relief and, like, happiness, just considering how much offense has been kind of a struggle point throughout the entire season. Then, like you said, held Rice, a ranked team, to 1 goal, then still put up 2 goals in their loss to FAU. So it's kind of about just continuing to build momentum offensively.
Yeah, so if this team, they're getting closer. You can feel that they're getting closer. They have 3 games coming up in the next 2 weeks, starting with hosting North Texas on October 2nd, at ECU on October 9th, and then hosting Charlotte on October 12th. So those next 3 games will provide, more chances for this team to get their first conference win. But now we move over to men's soccer. Last time we talked to you guys, they were winless. Now, they're no longer winless. We recorded on September 16th last time, and men's soccer had a game that night. And they won that night. They took down Lafayette 1-0, and then lost to Florida Atlantic 3-1 on September 21st. And lost to Monmouth 2-0 on September 26th. So couldn't exactly build on that win, but getting that first win is always important. They now currently sit at 1-6-2 on the year with a 0-2 record in conference play. So an offense that is still struggling to really get the wheels unstuck, but a defense that continues to do all it can to keep these games in reach. Right, so its defense is really keeping this team in games here, and it feels like a matter of time before the offense finally gets going. There's talent there on the offensive end, and they're gonna have 3 games in the next couple weeks to kind of make things happen. Taking on Florida International, a conference game on October 3rd, non-conference game at home against Penn on October 7th, and then another conference game against Tulsa on October 12th. And we're getting in this backstage of the year where last year they didn't lose any of their last 5 games and snuck their way into the conference tournament. And that October 12th game against Tulsa is another team that's 1-6-2. Home game, might be able to kind of, get a win there and kind of get the wheels rolling going into, end of October, early November, and maybe sneak into that conference tournament again. We'll have to see. That Tulsa's kind of in the same boat as Temple right now. So maybe that game can kind of act as a momentum changing win, or maybe even draw for them. And then we'll real quick go over to the golf team. They've played 2 tournaments the last 2 weeks. The Temple golf team opened their fall season on September 22nd and September 23rd at the Temple Invites, where kind of a newcomer kind of stood out in that first tournament. William Jun, who finished a really good first day, struggled a bit on the second day, but overall led the team with a 4 over par. And Temple's kind of split into 2 teams for that tournament. The Cherry team finished tied for 8th out of 13, while the White team finished 11th. And then they played this past Sunday and Monday down at the Ironwood Collegiate Classic at East Carolina and finished 10th out of 15. But again, had a couple pretty good performances. Aiden Emmerich shot 3 under par, and then William John was even par as well. So fall golf is underway for the fall season. For we throw golf some love. And then we also have fall seasons getting kicked off for men's and women's tennis, and then also crew and rowing getting started soon as well. So everything's kind of in full swing. We even have some fall women's lacrosse going on right. So everything's kind of in full swing for Temple Athletics. And we have you guys covered for all of it on the playbook bi-weekly here, Jacob, where can you find all of our coverage on social media?
On Instagram, you can find us at ttn.sports, and on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, it's ttn_sports.
We'll have plenty of coverage on social media for you guys through the next 9 months as Temple Athletics are in full swing. And all of our coverage and more can be seen at temple-news.com. Guys, that's temple-news.com.
.com.
Thank you guys for listening.